Hello, welcome to WD18, the Watford fan channel. My name is Jacob Culshaw, joined by Sam Ucko, Charlie Zazzera to talk all things Watford 0, Plymouth Argyle 0. Now, on the surface, it seems like a pretty boring result, but I'm sure if you were there yesterday or you watched it from afar, you would know that actually it was a pretty entertaining 0-0. And if you're a neutral watching this, it was one of the best 0-0s you'll probably see in a while. Sam, first off, mate, how was your weekend? Good. Watford didn't ruin it. Watford probably added to it, if anything.
Yeah, it's really rare that Watford drop points and I come out of it feeling really encouraged. If you haven't checked out the immediate match reaction yet, make sure to go and have a look. But I left that feeling really, really optimistic. And other than that, it's been, I know the Championship is the best league in the world, but it's been good to have the Premier League back. I've literally been sat in front of the telly all day today just watching football. So that's been good. Two really entertaining games, but none more so than, as you say, Jacob, I think while it was 0-0, it was probably one of the most exciting games that I've seen in a while, to be honest with you. It was really, particularly the second half, really opened up. It was end-to-end chances for both sides, and we'll come on to it, but neither team could finish, and that ultimately is why it ended 0-0.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think that second half, when he got to like 56 minutes and Val brought on 4 subs and 3 of them were quite attacking, I was like, wow, this is good fun to watch. Charlie, how's your weekend, mate? First off, that shirt, by the way, gonna plug it because it's a beauty.
Yeah, I like it. I think it looks a bit better on Wesley Hoedt than it does me, but I liked it. And I was outside the club shop, and I was like, "Yeah, I fancy it." Sam's like, "Just do it." So here we are,
Mate. You look phenomenal. Like, you honestly look really like. But I have to admit, I do know what you mean when you look at the kit on like Wesley Hoedt, who's pretty much like a model, and then I chuck it on, and you're like, yeah, I'm not quite Wesley Hoedt. Having said that, I have to say, is he up there as one of the most handsome Watford players ever? I can't think of many better.
Have we not had a few?
Our good friend Mike Parkin from the Rookery End would throw John Eustace's name in there.
John Eustace. Wow. Bondi's probably up there.
Yeah, Savvy Prodal as well.
Wow.
I liked him, yeah.
Charlie's really having to think. Let us know in the comment section.
I tweeted about a former player who looked like he could be a Love Island contestant, but I can't for life me think who it is.
Oh God. We've had some good ones over the years. Anyway, we'll be talking about yesterday. Watford 0, Plymouth 0. Let us know in the comment section what you made of the game. Anything you'd like us to talk about today, any talking points, we'd love to take your questions and your thoughts, and we'll get them over to the lads and get through it. You know what, before we get on to yesterday, Charlie, just fill us in on what happened on Thursday at the training ground. At your place, we had Ben Manga, Cristiano Gioretta, Dan Bachman, Valerian Ismail, all in the training ground with a group of supporters. How was it? How was the experience? What was discussed?
Yeah, really positive night. The club put on this event, I think, off the back of what the guys done for the fans forum. So there's about 70 people there, all ranging different kinds of fans. Some travelled from like Dorset and places like that, like from Manchester. So yeah, it was a really good privilege to be there. Who do we have? New captain Dan Batman, Ben Manga, Val, Scott Duxbury, Cristiano Gioretta. And yeah, for 90 minutes, open the floor. Everyone can have a question. And yeah, you could basically much ask about anything. They're all pretty transparent. Nice. Some answers were smartly answered, shall we say, like they wouldn't give too much away, but they didn't kind of ignore anything and they tackled everything. So I just think it was a positive experience. I think it does help coming off the back of that QPR result. But everyone, I think the main message was just talking about the good vibes. I think you've all read Adam Leventhal was there and from Watford Observer, so you can read up on the main talking points. I don't think there was any massive bombshells or key things, but I think the main thing I got out of it is kind of everyone's in the same. It appears so far everyone is going in the same direction. So positive vibes. I walked out of Vicarage Road yesterday, positive vibes. So I'm just hoping we can carry that on.
Yeah, it's an interesting one at this point in the season because you can either be a glass half full type of person or glass half empty. On the surface, you can go 4 points out of 2 games. Yeah, we're looking good. It's encouraging. Whereas you can be a bit more glass half empty and go, maybe we should have won yesterday. But Sam, just on the fans forum on Thursday, and I don't know if you read up on sort of like what was mentioned, but what were the key lines that stood out for you as someone who didn't go but kind of caught up with the event?
Yeah, I think the big one was Yasser Asprilla, the news that Scott Duxbury said something along the lines of he's not for sale or we're not keen to sell him. Particularly with the speculation that was going on last week, there was a source, I can't remember which country it broke from. It might have been from Colombia, that suggested that Brighton and Newcastle want him and Asprilla wanted to leave, and that coincided with the fans forum. So I assume that was one of the big questions asked at the event, and it's good to hear that that the club at least don't think that he's for sale. But as Charlie and I spoke about in the pub yesterday before the game, you don't really know what's going to happen in football, and it's a big call to say that we're not going to sell him, because Brighton now, after when the Caicedo deal goes through, who knows if he'll go to Chelsea or Liverpool with 120 million in their bank. Who knows? They might go back in for Asprilla, but that's the main takeaway for me. And as Charlie said, it appears on the surface that for the first time in a long time, everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's behind Valérien Ismaël. The players look like a really good group. I think Duxbury said something like, "This is the most together, or first time in a while everyone's wanted to be at the club." But let's just hope that actions speak louder than words, because we've heard it all too many times before, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to caveat it by saying, look, it is all well and good, some of the lines that were coming out the club on Thursday, but we have heard those lines before. So as you say, I think when we'll find out later on this season, the one line that stood out from my perspective was just on the patience, and that word was used a couple of times by Scott from the transcript that I've read. And he mentioned about how we need to be patient as supporters. The club needs to be patient. But ultimately, the only person that needs to be patient is probably Gino Pozzo in that respect, if we do go through a sticky patch. So time will tell, and actions obviously speak louder than words. And I think what we've come to learn with that, with Watford Football Club. Anyway, moving on to yesterday. Shout out João Pedro first off for getting on the score sheet against Luton. It got a really good reception in Vicarage Road. Quite funny, the whole thing, really. I mean, I saw some people having a go at Watford fans for singing about a player scoring against Luton, but then I kind of saw videos of Luton singing about Watford, so it works both ways. But overall performance, Charlie, you said you came away leaving Vicarage Road actually pretty positive. Why did you feel like that?
Yeah, just on the João Pedro song, I thought, like, obviously when everyone's singing, I thought there was a moment like Loser had a free kick and the crowd are getting up. I thought if we score after, like, we've just been singing about João Pedro, it could have been a beautiful moment. Why was I feeling positive? And like you said, like 4 points, yes, Plymouth are a newly promoted team, but I think it's all about context. And what we've seen the last two league games have been completely different sides to what we saw last team. We're seeing a cohesive team. We're seeing a clear style of play. We're seeing everyone working hard. We're seeing a bit of fight, a bit of grit. Like, I think even yesterday there were some chances where I thought, would they have held on yesterday when they were running back and they getting us on the counter attack? So it's great to get 2 clean sheets. But yeah, it just seems like we've got a plan. It seems like everyone's knows what they're doing. Everyone's executing the plan. I think if on another day, if Bio scores his chances, we're winning 2-3-0 yesterday. So I just think last 2 games we played really, really well and we looked like a team finally. So hopefully in time, that's only going to improve if we get in another number 9. Look, don't get me wrong. I think there are really tough teams in this league this season. So I'm not saying anything like promotion or anything like that, but I think we've all said it before. We just want to see a team each week, and so far, so good on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we, as you can see by the title, striker incoming ? Now, Sam, I'll throw this one over to you. Before we kind of dig deeper on the performance yesterday, the one standout thing that I'm seeing flying around with Watford fans on the forums, online, etc., is this striker conversation. Now, we've been linked with 2 more strikers since full time. Well, obviously, sorry, Cabba. And name of the other one, Charlie's gone blank to me.
Nicholson.
Spartak Moscow's Nicholson. How desperate are we on the sort of striker spectrum, which is we don't need another one, get one in now? Where are we?
I think it's a get one in now, to be honest with you. I really don't want to dig out Wesley Hoedt because I think I said it in our preview video. I think he's been scapegoated a lot by Watford fans, and I think a lot of the treatment of him has been quite unfair. But I think the reality is, with a prolific number 9, we win that game yesterday. I'm happy with Wesley Hoedt as an option off the bench. We saw last year he can score big goals for us, but as a starter, he's just he's got to be scoring, particularly the one where he's the wrong goal yesterday. And I watched the replay back, and in the ground, it looked like it went just wide, but watching the video back, it went so far wide. And I don't know whether it was a confidence thing. At the time, I thought he looked a bit tired because he could have taken it an extra few yards forward. And I think a confident striker does that. But it's just so interesting how I think you look at, he scores a good goal last week against QPR, makes a really good run to the back post and was involved in a couple of the goals. But then he has that miss against Stevenage. He scored again against Stevenage, but then he has that miss against Stevenage, misses that one in the first half yesterday. And then from that, I think his confidence was just completely gone. I think he could tell the fans were getting on his back. And like I said, I think it's so important who we get in, as long as it's the right person. But it's a real priority now.
Yeah, Laura says 10 on the striker spectrum. We've got now. There is definitely an urge to get a number 9 in. I think from my perspective, Charlie, looking at Bio, he's a really weird striker in the sense that he actually finds himself in some great positions. I mean, the amount of times it was almost frustrating. Like the QPR goal, as you mentioned, the Stevenage one, that is just being in the right place at the right time, which you have as a striker and you don't have. I think we've seen plenty of strikers at Watford who didn't have that knack of getting in the right positions. But then there's times where it just feels like the longer the game goes on and he doesn't score, he just seems to panic and he seems to just like rush his chances. He's almost better when he doesn't have a decision to make, is what I've found. I think when you look at that Middlesbrough game last season, the one he scored in the last minute, it just kind of fell to him. So he's like, well, I've got to shoot. It feels like the more time he has to think about it, the more he overthinks it. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, bang on. Like we saw at QPR last week when he got put through and he had a bit of time where he could have rounded the keeper and he's just hit it too far. Obviously, Stevenage, that was a big miss as well. And I just think it's a confidence thing. I think, to be fair to him, he has scored 2 in 3 games. And he has, like, his out of possession work is really, really good. Even till the end where I thought some of our players were struggling just fitness-wise because they worked so hard first 60 minutes. But I thought Bio kept on going. And I actually kind of disagree with you a bit in terms of, yesterday, I think sometimes he wasn't in the right place for a time. There was quite a few occasions when the ball was flashing across the box or it was just like 2 yards away from him. So definitely think it's a confidence thing. And look, I think, bless him, like last season he went on loan, didn't he? So you could kind of see how the club view him. I think he must have impressed Val. And I think he has done all right. But yeah, I think we all agree if we can get a striker who's gonna score us 20 goals, that is going to be huge for us. I can't remember last time we had a striker who scored 20 goals. Igalo promotion season.
Igalo, Troy, Vidra. I think Vidra. I think if you take a 2012-13 Vidra yesterday,
on the end of a Spears through balls, you have prime Vidra
all day long, wasn't it? It was a lot. I saw you tweet about it, Charlie, as well. The touch from Loser, the pass from Asprilla. We'll get into it in a little bit. One thing I wanted to ask Sam. Now this is going to sound like a bit of a weird question, but should we judge Bio just of his goal contributions? Does he offer more than just that? Or as a striker, is it just purely that he has to be delivering?
Yeah, of course. I think it's a bigger question in football at the moment. I remember this debate originally emerged when you had that famous Liverpool front three of Firmino, Salah and Mane. And Firmino wasn't, obviously his goal contributions were still excellent in an unbelievable team, but he wasn't perhaps finding himself in those positions that you'd expect a striker to find himself in. But he was still held really, really well. My problem is that you need 2 really prolific wingers and forward players beside that central man if you're going to go off that. A bit like when you got Delafeu and Sarr going off Troy Deeney. Deeney is not always going to be judged off his goals when you've got 2 players like that either side of him. I just don't feel like Sema, Martins, who else have we got there? Spreer even are prolific enough. And we need a striker in there who's going to get on the end of balls. And ultimately, we can judge the striker off their goal contributions.
Yeah.
Jacob, you said something really interesting to me yesterday before the game. What have you made of how Reece Healy's been deployed or not deployed? Because you said something about how he played for Toulouse. And I thought Stevenage, he came on, he had that header, which was a decent effort out of nothing. Do you think he should be maybe given a chance as a 9?
Do you know what? I don't see any reason why not yesterday particularly. I mean, it got to the point where I think we all saw Bayer wasn't really working. And at about 70 minutes when, you're thinking we've got one more sub to roll the dice. I didn't see any reason why not to bring Healy on. And also, I think that kind of sends a message to Healy that either he's not ready fitness-wise or Val's not a big fan of him. I think the way he talked actually at the fans forum, Charlie, where he mentioned Val about the fact we need another number 9. Healy was not brought up in that conversation whatsoever. Now, whether he sees him as a guy who's going to be playing off the wide channels, I'm not sure. But just reading up on, I'm not a League 2 expert by any stretch, but just reading up on where he played for Toulouse, he played it through the middle in a 4-3-3, and that wasn't far off from what we were playing yesterday, if we're completely honest. So I was surprised that he didn't get 10, 15 minutes. I didn't see any reason why we couldn't do that as well, especially as we were putting more crosses in. I think
one bit of insight from the fans forum, which could be the case. Val was talking about how players need to be a specific kind of fitness level to play his style. So that's why we haven't seen Tom Ince. That's why we haven't seen Lewis yet. He kind of messaged, look, those guys, they're about 3 or 4 weeks behind, like, to play this style of football. And even yesterday, I thought we got leggy at the end. I thought our intensity was really high. I remember seeing James Morris, who I thought was great again, trying to press, and you could tell he was just. And I think that's probably one of the negatives we're going to experience with Val Ball 2.0, that because it is so intense. When the game's still up for grabs and you're tired, are we going to be able to withstand it? So maybe Reece Healy obviously has come off an injury. Maybe he's just not that ready. But I kind of agree with you. It would have been good to see him yesterday.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on something that Charlie just said there, and something I've been thinking about is that I watched the highlights back, and in that first half, we could have been 2-3 goals up, if not necessarily the chances we had, but if the final ball was a bit better, if Martin's final ball was a bit better at times, if Sema was a bit more involved. My worry is that at times when the game is 0-0 or 1-0 going into 60, 70 minutes, I think we're probably going to see the Watford team tire quite a bit this season. And I think against other teams, if we're not killing the game off in that first half period, I think we are going to get punished. And I could see us, I don't know if this is an overreaction because ultimately it hasn't happened yet, but I could see us conceding a lot of late goals this season. Not sure what you both think.
Mystic Ucko.
Well, I'm hoping not, obviously, but as Charlie said yesterday, he's right. You look at this, I'm not doubting the effort at all, because I look at both Andrews and Morris trying their absolute hardest to press, but they just looked absolutely exhausted, to be honest with you.
I think that's a really good point, Sam. The one thing I would say about both the QPR game, let's say the Stevenage game, but the QPR game and the Plymouth game, there was definitely a drop-off of intensity from about 60 minutes or so. Then you see the substitutions coming in. That's obviously going to take time for them to build up their fitness, but it's one thing I picked up on in terms of there has been a slight drop-off. Whether Val's going to try and look to do it in blocks with the pressing to make it a bit more sustainable throughout the game might be one way of getting around it. But we came out the block so quickly against QPR that we had the sort of momentum to keep it going till half time. It feels like if we don't start with it, it's quite hard to get to that rhythm, if that makes sense. It's the only thing I've picked up on so far. Let's just have a look through the comments before we crack on with more of yesterday. Ian says in the comment section, just on bio, a manager is judged on results, strikers are usually judged on goals. One for you, Charlie, here. Bio should do a Joe Linton and go and try midfield.
Not too sure, but I probably would have said the same for Joe Linton at the time, and now he's playing for Brazil. So, yeah, I don't mind it.
The silence was loud there, I have to say. A guy like Vidra, agree, we need a goal thief. We do need... Well, that's what I thought Healy was going to be, but we'll have to wait and see. Surin, good to see you, mate. I like Bio. It could work for him. Luan says he had the exact same chance Bio versus Palace in pre-season and went as far wide as it did yesterday versus Plymouth. Fine as a squad option, though. And a couple more. Steve in the comment section could see Steve. Bio, not good enough. Very Andre Gray-like. Misses too many sitters. Does the fact that he didn't take a penalty in the shootout last Tuesday show that the confidence isn't there? But Sam, I don't think that's a Bio thing. The fact, and Charlie, you were both there. 3 centre-backs taking the first 3 pens. Is that the first time in football history that's ever happened? I was trying to work out if that's happened before.
Wow, that's I felt like I'd be.
I'm not expecting you to know the answer, by the way, but that was like who Sierralta. But that did say a lot to me about sort of the attacking players, though. That is bizarre.
Yeah, I do think it might be a confidence thing. I don't know. I think particularly Bayo after missing that chance.
Yeah.
I'm still laughing at Porto's penalty. Like, if I could envision him taking a penalty is exactly like that. It just funny. But yeah, no, I think we mentioned on the night it's a bit concerning. We had Sierrata,
So who would take them?
and Porto taking our first three, but we had attackers on that pitch, so
it was weird. It was weird. I do have to say, just going to throw it out there, and this is where Football Manager comes into play. I had a little look afterwards. Wesley Hoedt is a set piece taker, according to set piece specialist. I think he's technically called. So potentially, Tristan in the comments thought Kone looked at a threat yesterday, and Laura says Porto's Ben is still circling Earth. But yeah, anyway, on to yesterday. Sam, just look at the lineup. Batman in goal, Andrews, Porteous, Hoedt, James Morris, Loser, Sierrata, Deli Bashiru, Sema, Bio, Mateus Martins. Now, that team, the one man that I think probably had his best game in his Watford shirt was Wesley Hoedt. I can't remember a game that he's played to that level before. Now, Charlie and I were speaking pre-match, and we were a little bit sceptical about Wesley. Nothing personal at all. Just sometimes you think if he's on the turn, could be in trouble here. Is that the best performance in a Watford shirt that you've seen?
Yeah, I think so. I can't really think of any others, to be honest with you. He's someone who he'll have moments which are really, really positive, and I thought he actually played really well against Stevenage the other night. I think he's someone who splits opinion as well, but I think everyone unanimously was really impressed by him yesterday. He won absolutely everything. I think at times he could be a bit stronger in the air, even still, but I think with the ball at his feet, first of all, those diagonal passes were unbelievable. Trademark, exactly. They're becoming his thing now. His 1v1 tackles as well. There were times where it looked like Plymouth had 2-on-1 situations and he was able to win the ball back. So on the whole, really, really impressed with him. But I think with Wesley Hoedt, as it is with pretty much this whole Watford team, it's a matter of consistency, isn't it? Because for all we know with Wesley, he could put in a disaster class and make a mistake next week against Stoke. And it's the case now, can he follow it up against Stoke, then follow it up against Blackburn? But definitely really positive signs. And I really hope as well, him being in this leadership group will have a really positive impact on him as well, because it was a real leader's performance yesterday.
Yeah, it was. Just looking at his stats from yesterday, the one that stood out, as you mentioned, was the long passes. He completed 18 of those long passes out of 26. I have to say, the amount of times, I don't know if any other Watford fans do this, I see him sort of like taking a step back. You just see him, he's going to ping it over to the right, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go again. And somehow it looks like it's never going to reach, but it always does. That guy has got that diag to the right back copyrighted. Charlie, just from your perspective, as someone who, we have had our doubts about who, but yesterday it did feel like without him, fair to say we could have been in trouble a couple of times.
Yeah, 100%. I thought it was outstanding. And what Sam mentioned there, I think that's what the most impressive thing that I've been concerned is kind of maybe one-on-ones and stuff like that. But there was plenty. We're obviously a massive, high risk, high reward team, and there was plenty of time when it was either him or Porto have got a one-on-one, and you need to make it, otherwise the attacker's in. And I think 3 or 4 times he won that battle, and he got the first contact. I thought his passing was good. And I thought there was a couple of times we had kind of last-ditch blocks. There was a comment there about him punching the ball off, and that sums it up. He threw his body in a way. And again, I thought Porto alongside him played really well. So hopefully those two can keep on building a bit of a partnership, and hopefully they can kind of be our rock, our base that we can just rely on, and we don't have to worry about them. Because I feel like in recent years, it's like, who's our best centre-back? We've got about 8 different centre-backs, and we're not sure about any of them. But 2 clean sheets out of the first 2 games is not bad, again, compared to last season. So, yeah, it was brilliant yesterday.
Absolutely. I actually think it's really nice going into games when the team sheet comes out, which, by the way, the graphic this season's really, really nice. So shout out to whoever did that. It's actually nice to look at the team sheet going, you know what? I know who the 2 centre-backs are going to be, regardless of who it is, because it felt like before, particularly last season, it was just like centre-back roulette. It could be anyone at playing those 2 positions. Sam, one person I wanted to mention, we'll do player ratings later on, so make sure you do stick around for that later on in the show, and we'll get your guys' thoughts on the player ratings. Conversation yesterday about Dan Bachmann. Now you look at the back 5, you've got Bachmann, Andrews, Porteous, Hoedt, Morris. But Bachmann's the one where out of everyone, you feel like his passing is getting scrutinised, particularly in that first third. What did you make of it? Because I mean, I think it's fair to say there were a few groans. There was that kind of your heart dropped in the first half where he sort of think he lost his bearings a little bit, got away with it. Second half, a few loose passes, but Ishmael's come out afterwards and gone, well, he's doing what he's told. He's doing what I've asked him to do. So if you're going to blame anyone, blame me because I'm asking him to do that. Just give your thoughts on that whole situation, because it feels like the fans are starting to get a little bit. Some fans start to get a little bit impatient with him, but Ishmael's very much willing just to keep plugging away.
Yeah, this is where the word patience comes in, to be honest with you, because I personally got a bit frustrated yesterday hearing so many people slander Bachmann in the Rookery, and I thought they were being completely unfair, because to me it's absolutely clear that it's Valérien Ismaël who's telling him to do that. And that's not me saying Ismaël should stop him from doing that, but for me, it just makes the 5-year deal even more baffling, to be honest with you. I thought we needed a new goalkeeper going into the summer. I think Bachmann, again, to his credit, and it's gone under the radar, but he made some really good saves yesterday as well.
Yeah.
And in all credit to him, there was the 1-on-1 in the second half, I think it was, and he was able to spread himself really well, and it was a brilliant save, and that went really under the radar.
Sam, just to jump in there, he made 5 saves, and just on the XG, he prevented 1.2. So if you're looking at sort of the quality of chance he saved yesterday.
Exactly. And there was also a time in the first half where he was really aggressive off his goal line and was able to throw the ball out quickly. There was a time where me and Charlie were sat there looking at each other thinking, Watford are back, when he was playing, I think, 1-2s with Hoedt and Porteous, and then was able to play out, and we created a chance from that. So look, at times we're going to have our hearts in our mouths, but at times it's going to really pay off. And I do feel sorry for Dan, because I think he's almost in a predicament here where he's thinking, do I make the fans happy or do I make the manager happy, if that makes sense? Because a lot of fans just wanted him to kick it long, and I think there were times where he could have played it short and kicked it long because he was worried about certain reactions. So it's a case, I think, of being patient, not accepting because we can't accept failure ultimately, but accepting that at times it's not going to go our way, but at times it's also going to be really good for us in the long term.
2 things for you, Charlie. The first of which is someone who works with coaches and management. How important is it, even if a player's not comfortable doing what the manager's asked them to do, to actually stick to it and not go away with it? I remember when Pep came in at City and everyone was saying, bravo, getting absolutely slagged off for playing the way he did. But he stuck to it. And I mean, obviously he's not there anymore, but City have basically developed their game since that point. How important is it from a coaching perspective to stick to those principles? Because do you think there's an element that Ishmael might be thinking, I've got to compromise it for Bachmann because he's not that comfortable with his feet?
No, I think Val knows what he wants, and he said how many times that he's backed Bachmann, and he said there will be mistakes, and it's just so etched in like football fandom and society that like playing out from the back, people don't like it. I think we all can say that maybe passing isn't Dan's biggest strength, but I think one thing yesterday, which I thought was good, I thought early on in the first half, maybe he tried a couple of turns and stuff like that, and after that he kind of learned from that and started moving it a bit quicker. So he's learning. There was one in the first half where we had a lovely pattern to build out when Bachmann started it, and we got down the right wing. Andrews was on his bike, so you can see how it works. And so far, he's got 2 clean sheets. So he saved us yesterday from losing. So we need to support him. I know it's frustrating. I know it might feel uncomfortable, and he's going to make mistakes. But if it means we win more games than we lose some, and if it means in a year or 2 years' time we're playing with Dan, who's like improved on it, or another goalkeeper, and it's this style of play that Val wants, and we're doing it well, then that's what we've got to try and think big picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Lou Warren's in the comment section. This is really interesting. Only 2 games, so a small sample size. But Bachmann leads the league in goals prevented, crosses claimed, and passes attempted, goalkeepers only. So a clear shift in style of his actual play. Richard said Dan Bachmann's leg was so heavily strapped, no wonder his passing was iffy. Alfie says, but against better teams, we will be caught out if we're not careful. Sam, just moving away, we will touch on Bachmann when we do the player ratings, but just on the team as a whole, how far are we away here? Because I mean, as Luan said, that's 2 games, so it is a small sample size. Read into the Stevenage game as much as you want to. But how far are we away from actually being like a pretty decent team, do you think?
Yeah, it's a really difficult question, this. And I think for me, I'd only answer the question after 10, 15 games, to be honest, because the big thing that's in the back of my head is as impressed as I've been so far, because I've been raving, and I think this is the most coached this Watford side have looked in years, to be honest with you, since Javi Gracia. The thing in the back of my head that's nagging away at me is that both the Barnsley and the West Brom fan who we did that video with a few months ago said that they both started the season really well and ultimately burnt out. And I think the thing that's nagging away at me is that we're already seeing. I'm not saying we're seeing signs of burnout, but we're seeing signs of fatigue towards the end of games. I'm just worried about how that's going to impact us towards the end of the season, or at parts this season when there's multiple games in a week. And I'm not sure if we've got the squad depth at the moment to deal with that, to be honest with you. I think it was encouraging to see those 4 subs made at one time yesterday, although I did think we lost a bit of structure when that happened. But yeah, I think it's a difficult question to answer at this point, but it is certainly enjoyable.
Before I was just going to say that from 56 minutes onwards, Charlie, that was, I'd go as far to say over the last year, that was some of the most fun football to watch. I mean, although there was an element of like, there was no structure really to what was going on. It was kind of organised chaos, to be completely honest. But it was just really, really fun to watch, even just the 4 subs. And it was refreshing to have a coach who did make those changes. So I'll throw the same question over to you, Charlie. How far do you think we are away? Because I guess you can look at this as half glass full, half glass empty. Or a better question, actually, at what point are you judging this team?
Yeah, the big thing I'm waiting to see is how we deal with adversity. Like, what happens when we go 1-0 down, or if we do come up against a good team and they're just better than us and we lose 3-0, what we like in the next game. Small sample size, Stoke's going to be another pretty good test. I think they've recruited really, really well. They lost to a really good Ipswich side yesterday, but I think they won first day of the season, didn't they, Stoke? I think Alex Neil's a bit of an underrated manager. So, yeah, I'm trying to look at like five games, but to be honest with you, like I'm not, all I'm judging is like what I'm seeing on the pitch and what I'm enjoying. That's why, like yesterday, like on the face of it, and I saw a few comments saying, "Oh, we're buzzing about a draw against Plymouth," but you just got to use your eyes and see what we saw. And I actually think we played better against Plymouth than we did QPR. I feel like QPR, the goals just happened. I felt like Plymouth, the patterns of play we were doing, how everyone was working for each other. So, yeah, until we see otherwise, I think we just got to enjoy it. And I totally get Sam's worries, and it could be a fair one. And I did think that we fade off. But again, if we talk about my point that I said last time, like if it means that we're going to learn from next season and then the next couple of windows, we're going to recruit more and our subs are either going to be better like next season that they bring on 4 at a time. Although I did think our bench was pretty good yesterday, bringing on Kone, Espria, who I thought was unreal. So hopefully we can talk about him.
Yeah,
but
mate.
yeah, I just think we, as Watford fans, we've all said we have got limited expectations. So it's not like we're like, oh, are we going to go up? Are we not? Like, let's just take a game as. Let's just take one game at a time. Jesus, too many beers this weekend. And yeah, let's just enjoy the ride.
I've got a question for both of you. Jacob, you take this one. Because I was thinking about the 4 subs, and this is me being incredibly harsh and a bit picky. But Jake Livermore, across the 2 games so far, Stevenage and Plymouth yesterday, I know it's really difficult to come into a game at that time, particularly when it's so open, but I think he's looked a yard off it. I'm not sure.
That was just really like just an absolute drop that bomb. It's just a yard off it. No, I'm going to disagree with you with that one, Sam. I don't get me wrong. I don't think he's playing at 100%, but I think you see a difference in when he's on the pitch compared to Sierralta. The reason I say that is, number one, he checks his shoulder, which, no disrespect to Sierralta, he's not naturally a central midfielder. He just sometimes he goes towards the ball and you're like, mate, have a little look around you. But also the fact that I think he does, I guess, I liken it to a couple of signs we made. He does what it says on the tin. You know, he comes on, he'll slow it down a little bit. He'll make a couple of tactical fouls to slow the game down when we need to. I think overall, I don't know what we would expect. the only question I'd say to you, Sam, is I don't know what you expect him to come on and do in the sense that I can't. That what he's done so far is what I would expect him to do, and I think he knows his role in this squad. Yeah, that's probably what I'd say. Charlie, Livermore.
Yeah. I think we mentioned it yesterday, and I think you said it, Jacob, about Kayembe. So it's going to be interesting. He came on as well yesterday, but it's going to be interesting to see how much involved is he. Is he going to be a 6 or more or forward? I know he played different positions for his last club. Livermore, yeah, I kind of agree with you, Jacob. I agree with Sam in the sense of he's been caught on the ball a few times, but I kind of expected that. He's obviously a bit older, but he hasn't done anything horrific. I think he's tried to come on, retain possession. I think it's bold that Val's sticking with Sierralta, who's never played as a defensive midfielder before. Do you know what I mean? Where he's got Livermore, who he knows, but he's still sticking with Sierralta as his number one. So
thoughts on that, Charlie? Sierralta?
I thought it was good yesterday. Solid, did the simple things well, won it in the air. I think one thing that we've wanted from this Watford team for ages is to be better than some of its parts. And I think he's playing better than maybe not his ability, but his position. And I just imagine throwing Sierralta in centre midfield like last couple of seasons. It would have been grim. But I feel like there's just a structure around him and he's doing it well. He's still dropping back. He's playing that false 6, which is fascinating. I'm really enjoying his performances.
Did they explain it on Thursday how that came about?
Yes, they did.
For people who don't know.
Yeah. So basically, the question got asked, I know, saying who impressed you in training. I think they were kind of insinuating which new players, but Dan Backman said about Sierralta has just turned into a completely different player, and what he's seen him do is unbelievable. And then Val kind of answered the same one, but I think there was an injury or something in a warm-up match or in one of the friendlies, and Val it was kind of by accident that it's happened. Val just put Sierralta in, and they haven't looked back. And every time he's done well in that position. So fair play to Val for making that call. I think more fair play for Sierralta to keep on holding his own in the Championship in that position, because it's a completely new position. I've not seen any team do it. So fair play to him.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Couple of comments before we move on to a bit more analysis. There was one comment. There was a really nice comment up here, and I forgot where it was. Someone said, "What a lovely comment! Always my favourite time of the week." Now I have to apologise if your favourite time of the week is listening to us three lads, but as long as you're enjoying it, that's the main thing. Thanks so much for the lovely comment. Evening, mate. We need a striker. Never thought Bayer would be our frontman this season. There was a comment to you, Sam, from Lou Orns. He said, with all due respect to the West Brom and Barney fans, I don't think their opinion holds weight to what we're seeing now. They told us he didn't adapt, long ball, couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, I see that. But I think, Lou, you're talking there from a tactical perspective. I'm talking more from a fitness perspective. I think that just worries me, that I think we're just going to burn out fatigue at some point. And I think with the way that we're playing, I could see the injuries rack up, to be honest. And I think that's where we could struggle.
Hornet Heaven, funny how we all see things differently. Unlike Sam, we thought
everyone
slotting perfectly into the same structure. That's valuable, isn't it? So it's now 21 questions with Sam.
But this is what's great about football, though, isn't it? So many different opinions. We all watch the same game and see things completely differently. So, yeah, I do. Yeah, exactly. I do think that when the subs came on yesterday, again, no slight on any of them. I think the game was opening up anyway, but I did think we lost a bit of structure. So, yeah, interesting that we saw that differently.
Nick G in the comment section, whatever happens this season happens. It's just a pleasure to watch us play as a cohesive team with a coach that looks like he has a plan. Just want us to bring in a striker, centre mid, centre back. Charlie, are those the three that are the standout for you? When you look at the squad, I've asked you this a couple of times. Has it changed where you think we need to add a bit more strength and depth?
I've really chilled out about the fact that I can see 3 positions there. I haven't thought about anything other than the striker, because I think what we're seeing from the lads has been great, and that's what Val was saying. He said we don't want to get anyone who's not right. We've still got players to come in with Ince and Lewis. I do think that we will make one. We'll definitely get a striker in, and I think we could make 1 or 2 Udinese signings and stuff like that. But to be honest, I think that they've all played so well at the minute. there isn't that many players that go replace him. So,
Yeah.
And I think like the culture is slowly getting to a right place where everyone's buying into it. Everyone's playing the same way. Everyone's performing on the pitch. You don't want to upset the apple cart too much.
Josh in the comment section, I don't know if it's been said, but 2 clean sheets in the champ. You'll never sing that. Anthony, lovely comment here. The Sear Outer thing says to me that Val has not just looked at what's gone on before. Clean slate for each respective player squad as a whole. Refreshing. Really good way of looking at it, and I completely agree with you. There was one more comment about... I'm not sure about you guys, but do you think they trained too hard before the match, Sam? Like, bloody hell, no wonder they look shattered walking out the tunnel.
I feel like I've the feeling's quite negative from me. I'm so positive.
No.
Really, it's just I do think it though, particularly when Charlie brought it up before about Morris, that time where he was pressing and he just looked absolutely exhausted. I'm not sure, but I mean, what I do know about training is that for once they look coached and they look like they're actually doing stuff on the training ground. And I'm not sure if that's actually impacting them in that way at all, because it's certainly working, whatever's going on in training. And I'm certainly not one to turn around to all the analysts and the fitness guys, because if they think it's working, then I'm sure we'll continue seeing it. But yeah, I do agree. I just think they look absolutely shattered. And the big thing this week, and I know we're saying this on week 2 of the season, but I think it's really good that we don't have a midweek game this week. We don't have Carabao Cup or another championship game. And hopefully they've been given a couple of days off now as well. And then they can look forward to the Stoke game.
Before we move on to the player ratings, Luons, Charlie, if you could only have one, sorry, Cabba or Nicholson?
I'd definitely have to go for Nicholson. To be honest, I've only heard of him last night when DCW showed the tweet, and I was like, honestly, I have no idea who that is. But I did a bit of research this morning. Jamaican international, 26 years old, 6'4". And then, look at his clips. I think the thing that's impressed me more, and I think might have the edge over Cabba, is how good he is off the ball, against the ball, work rate, chasing people down. He scored quite a few goals from kind of a high press, the defenders losing it, which I think that's what we're looking to do. So I think he looks a bit more promising. I think he'd just be more suited, and I think he's a bit younger than Cabba. So I'd go for him, but I'd go for him. And I've heard reports with that Cabba that apparently he wants to go to Las Palmas, and I think if you're hearing noises about a player who don't want to come, it's on the balance. It might completely not be true, but this Nicholson sounds good. It'd be interesting. Like I think Adam said in his piece, like there's other names as well. So I think all of the transfer activity has been kept really well under wraps. So it could be someone completely different. Fingers crossed, Sydney Van Hooijdonk.
Yeah, the Charlie Zazzera scout report. I tell you what, if Cabba doesn't join us, it's not a bad way to spend your first game at Vicarage Road, scoring an overhead kick and leaving the ground. So I mean, fair play to him. One thing I wanted to mention before we talk about the player ratings was actually on Plymouth, because I think before the game we were saying about, pardon me, how this was actually a bit more of a test. And I think I completely agree with what you said, Charlie. I learnt more from yesterday than I did at the QPR game, mainly because Plymouth I thought were a well-organised outfit, particularly the back line. I thought Lewis Gibson, solid. Joe Edwards at right back, solid. Really decent, to be fair. I think they came for a point. Would you say that's fair, Sam? I think towards the end, there was a little bit of... I think it got to a point where they looked at it and went, you know what, a point away from home at Watford, not a bad result. But what did you make of them? Just
really, really good. It's a shame that our old friend Cisco isn't doing... hasn't had the best start Sheffield Wednesday, with Ozan scoring a hat-trick against them yesterday as well. But the other 2 promoted sides this year, I think, could be a real force in this league, particularly Ipswich have started the season well. I think a draw was a fair result, to be honest with you, because while we were knocking on the door and we probably had the better chances, on another day, Dan Backman's errors get punished. The one-on-one they score. On another day, Bayo scores that one-on-one and we get a couple more in the first half. So I think a draw is probably a fair result on the balance of it. And
I'm not having it. we were dominant. We made all the chances. If you look at the XG, I thought we were solid. Yeah, I think they got in once when Dan Batman made a good save. But I think we were much the better team. What do you reckon, Jacob?
Just going to chuck the XG out there, Charlie. 1.16 for Watford, Plymouth 1.404. So
They had that big chance, didn't they? Yeah.
21. We had 21 shots. They had 13.
Yeah. I did think we were good. I just think on the balance of things, I think it was probably fair. I think, as you said, Jacob, they came for a point, they got a point, and on another day we win it, on another day they win it.
I think it's really. I think the way Bio took his chance is making me forget how much of a good chance that was. I think we both had one clear-cut chance each. I think it's probably fair, but we probably looked like the team that was going on and being a little bit more on the front foot compared to Plymouth. So I'd probably say we edged it.
I like to see like the penalty box entries because I feel like, especially in the first half, we've done so well working it out wide with nice combinations and stuff. And I just think whether it was Morris, Martins, Sema, always the final bit just didn't come off, whether it didn't fall to our man or we couldn't execute the shot. So but I thought we were much the better team personally.
120 watching, only 23 likes. If you are enjoying it, please do leave a like and drop us a follow and subscribe to the channel. There was a comment from a Plymouth fan who I was just going to mention. Give me 2 seconds. Here we go. Argyle Army, thanks for joining me. Evening, boys. Cracking game yesterday. Thought it was very end-to-end. Think either team could have nicked it. Hoedt was ace. Your attackers are frightening. But think our defenders deserve a mention. I think that's probably a fair assessment, lads.
Hang on.
Yeah,
Hang on.
and I think, by the way, as well, that their gaffer, Schumacher, one to watch for the future, isn't he?
100%. I was just going to mention to this. I just read his comments post-match about how they had scouted for this game, and he said we felt in the QPR game, Watford had too much space in the middle of the park, and we wanted to try and condense that if we could and try and nullify their threat. Loser was picked out as a really good player. All of the front three are dangerous, so we had to be organised and concentrate. And they thought we were going to make opportunities. It's just how they would deal with them. But yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment. The fact that they've already picked out, though, Charlie, that the middle is going to be quite a key area for Watford. The amount we can get Loser on the ball, and that kind of brings me on to the link up with the Spirit. I mean, that was beautiful.
Yeah, I thought Asprilla was great when he came on. Like he came on, and I think he had to deal with like a Wesley Hoedt 70-yard ping first thing, and he just cushions it as he takes it down. And then from there, his weight of pass is great. I think one of his biggest weaknesses is probably his finishing, or even the final decision. I think he danced around a couple of players, and did he hit one wide or over? You could tell he's got a bit. You could tell he's a top player, similar to kind of João Pedro when you see that natural ability. So interested to see how he gets in the team. Ken Sema's been playing that right attacking forward role. I think Ken's been quieter than normal, but still pretty solid. But me personally, I'd love to see Asprilla get as much minutes as possible because I think he's a level above most people in the Championship. And he's what, 19?
19, and he fits that system well. I think coming off the right with that, and then you've got Andrews. That link up was really nice, actually. Andrews has got such a great engine on him. That kind of inside overlap, if that makes sense, underlap. I don't know what the technical term is, but it was just beautiful, that sort of link up there. And to be fair, Andrews could have almost scored as well. Look, we'll do player ratings. Get involved in the comment section below. We're going to fire through these. We take one each. We get your guys' thoughts, and then we kind of round up to an average. Starting off with Samuel Ucko with Daniel Bachman.
Really tough on this. I'll give him a 6. I think.
6.
I think that's probably fair. Obviously we spoke about it already. Could have cost us, but made a couple of really good saves.
Charlie, what did you say? Sorry, mate.
Just shout out 7. I feel like you're right. Maybe footwork not amazing, but he got us a point with that save. So
I was going to go 7. I think yeah. So we've got some mix. Harry goes, yeah, I would agree 6. That save though, 7. Should we go? I mean, the average is 6.5 between us three, so we'll go with that. Moving on to right back, Charlie, Ryan Andrews looking better by the game, isn't he?
Really good. Go as far as say best game for us, maybe. don't know what everyone thinks in the comments, but
Yeah.
I just think going forward, like you said, Jacob, the availability he gives himself when we're attacking, he's just there straight away. And I think he can work on his final delivery, whether it's shooting or crossing. He had a couple of good opportunities, but I just think he plays with his chest out. Like he says it with his chest. Do you know what I mean? He acts pretty mature, and I'm just excited to see how he's going to develop. But yeah, I thought that was his best game. I'm going to give him an 8.
Nice. Agreed. I'll take Ryan Bottius. I'm going to give him... It's a tough one because there's a couple of times in the first half I thought he was a little bit rash, but there's times he kind of makes up for it. I'm going to... is 6 harsh?
I was going to say 7.
I was going to say 6.5.
6.5. We'll go with 6.5.
Made a great tackle in the first half.
He did. He's such a weird one, Porto, because there's times where I'm like, he obviously plays his heart on his sleeve. Someone did make a point that he's such a physical defender that it probably does take him out of him a little bit. But there's times where he's like, he gets so tight to the man that you've either got to get the ball or you're going to have to take the man. And sometimes he doesn't either and just lets them go. Look, most people are going 7. We'll go with the 7 for Porto. Couple of rash moments, but overall, solid. Sam, Wesley Hoedt, man of the match, voted by... Actually, is it voted by the sponsors, by the fans? I don't know who it's voted by. But
yeah, I think most people on Hoedt anyway. I'll go to 9, I think.
9. Nice.
Yeah, very rare I give out 10s. But it was close to a 10, so I'll give him a 9.
9. Good point from Anthony here. Do we necessarily want to notice a Porto performance? Often a good sign for a defender. Completely agree. Man of the match, Wesley Hoedt, 9. Charlie Zazzera, James Morris, your new... I actually think he might be your new favourite player, you know.
I just think he's a bit... I think people look at him and Andrews differently because Andrews is a legitimate academy graduate. But I honestly think their performances are very similar, if not James Morris. I don't think he's had a bad game for us. I just think everything he does is solid. Like, it might not be amazing. And when you do see kind of Andrews galloping, and he might be a bit more safe. But I just think he's a solid pro, and you need that. It reminds me a bit of Ken Sema.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a bit reliable. I
was going to say Cathcart.
Pardon?
Yeah, Cathcart's not bad.
Cathcart a bit,
yeah. Maybe some of his deliveries could have been better, but I think I liked his performance again. I'll give him a 7.
Yeah, agreed. Alice made a great point in the comment section. That tackle on the centre to maybe save a goal. I think it was in the first half. We got a little bit just on the edge, and he threw himself in front of the ball. I thought fair play. And also Morris's ability to drop inside is a really good tool for us. So 7 for Morris. Did we go for in the end? Yeah. Moving on to, I'm going to take Sierralta just because he's just in front of the back 4. This is a really weird one for me with Sierralta because you've got to look at it in the context that isn't his natural position. I thought at times he looked like he could play the position. At times I thought he looked a little bit suspect. The only thing that makes me panic, mate, is just the amount of times he doesn't check his shoulder. If you actually watch him next week, he'll run towards the ball without any idea of who's around him. And I'm just like, mate, just literally have a look and then you know whether to... And the only thing I would say is he does telegraph the ball out to the right. And I think that might get picked up on a couple of times. You know, when the centre-back pulls it into him, and he obviously it's learnt off the training ground, but he always just swings it and wraps his foot around it. But apart from that, he was solid. And I think, what would you say is a fair 6.5, 7?
Yeah.
Which one, 7 or 6.5? You guys can pick.
7.
We'll go 7.
Yeah.
Sierralta, 7. Imran loser, Sam.
Yeah, it was a really good performance again from Imran. Against Stevenage the other night, I was thinking try and get in the game a bit more. But yesterday I thought he was really, really good. That touch in the second half that we picked up on earlier was exquisite. Make sure to check out the video on Charlie's socials later on as well if you haven't seen it back yet. Also hit the post yesterday. I think it was. It was a really, really good effort. Almost in slow motion, it looked like from where I was.
Yeah.
I think there's another gear that he could go up though, to be honest with you still. So I'd probably go the 7.
7. We've got a lot of 8s in the comments. 7. Yeah, 7. I mean, it's your call, mate. I think that's about right, to be fair. Anthony makes a good point. 3 out of 10. Keep loser on the download for September, lads. 8 movement off the ball was great too. Should we go 7.5?
Go 7.5.
7.5. Moving on to Tom Dele-Bashiru. A little bit quieter this week.
Yeah, one thing that I picked up on him, and it felt like he didn't have a touch like for a lot of the first half, but his runs were really like penetrating runs, and he was actually finding himself in some really attacking positions. So again, I think he's just a really good team player, pretty solid, nothing too good. I think he's really good off the ball. I'd probably give him a 6.
Yeah, his heat maps. Just looking at his heat map here, he finds himself in quite a lot of like different positions, which does just highlight, as you say, Charlie, he's running off the ball. Yeah, I think he only had 41 touches, so I think the eye test was definitely right with that one. Pardon me. Moving on to Mateus Martins on the left, obviously got hooked at 54 minutes. Wasn't particularly happy about it, is what I would say. Just watching him come off around the Graham Taylor stand. But look, I don't think that's a bad move. Got to keep these players on their toes. And also the fact is you're bringing on players with the points to prove, like Asprilla. Martin's a little bit quieter this week. Probably good off the ball, 6.5.
That's quite harsh. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was really threatening.
6.5. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. Maybe I'm comparing into the QPR game, but I thought he was a good level against QPR. I thought it was slightly lower personally. So what should we go on? 7, 7.5?
Yeah, at least a 7, I'd say. I thought he was pretty low. There was this one move in the second half where he just had the ball and he's one-on-one defender and he kept on running. He got to the byline and cut it back. I think he's looked pretty different player since we saw him last season. He's looking like he could be a real weapon for us.
Yeah, final ball's got to improve though. Still, I think.
Yeah, I'm releasing it at the right time. But I do agree. Maybe it was slightly harsh. We go 7. Do you know what? Most of the comment section are going 8 to 7, so we'll go 7.5 for Martins. And then moving on to Bayo, Sam.
It's difficult.
This is a tough one. This is probably the hardest one, actually.
Yeah, because 5. Because
that was just out of curiosity. If he had scored, what would you have given him?
But 7, to be honest with you.
Right. Okay. So that chance is really.
He's got to score that. He's got to score that at this level. Yeah, I think a 5. There were still some really good moments for him, but he's got to score that.
Charlie Zazzera.
Yeah, he's been quiet, hasn't he, last couple of games? Like, I'm not sure. Is he suited as the right attacker coming on the left? I don't think he's played badly both 2 games, and I think maybe it just shows last couple of seasons how bad we were that he stood out when he's maybe just been this level at a 7. But probably give him a 6. But yeah, I think we can get more out of him, and I think did Val swap it around at some point? I think if he has more joy on the left, getting to that byline, cutting ball backs, I think that's his key strength. So be interested to see where they start going forward. But I thought a quiet game to a 6.
Yeah, agreed. The only thing I don't want it to come at the sort of expense of Martins, because I think Martins is really good on the left, and I think Sam is better on the left. So I think Valerian will have to make a decision. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah, what I found really interesting though about just the starting 11, these player ratings, is that very few high level. I mean, in terms of reaching the high numbers, other than Wesley Hoedt, really. And I think that's a really positive sign, because what you have there is a team who are greater than the sum of their parts. And you have everyone put in good performances. There weren't too many, I think, unbelievable performances. But the fact that everyone was really good on the same hymn sheet, I think, brings out really good results.
Yeah, I think
it'd be funny to see player ratings for a video for last season compared to these.
I think there was one. It must have been after
the Luton one.
I think I gave Craig Cathcart a 0 that day. So.
Oh, that was absolute pain watching that. Subs, we won't do Kiembe because he came on at 89 minutes for loser. But I'm going to give Asprilla to Charlie because he looked really bright yesterday. And I think it's going to be a matter of time before he has to start for us just with his ability.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we just talked about Sema and how good Asprilla is starting. So I think he's knocking on the door. I'd give him an 8. I think he looked great, and I think the more game time, he's just going to get more confidence. I was worried about his physicality, but he rides challenges quite well. He's quite good in the air. I think he's really good. So yeah, an 8 for Yasser.
For Yasser. And also, as I mentioned just before, with a player with a point to prove is always the best player because they always are going to be putting 100% in, which is fantastic. Looking at Espria. Moving on, we've got someone who's getting quite a lot of positive comments, actually, Sam, is Kone.
Yeah, interesting one, because I said to Charlie yesterday, I thought Kone looked a bit off it, but in
Yeah.
hindsight, I think
Oh, it's great.
yeah, no, I do think reflecting on it though, and watching back some highlights, he did look really, really good. I think the thing that I find frustrating with Kone is I think there is a couple more gears that he could go up.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it might just be the way he plays, but I think it's a bit like Sarr in a way. I think he just looks a bit casual at times, and I'm just thinking try and get involved a bit more, and show, he's got a big body, try and show his physical presence a bit more. But I think there were some really good signs, and he is improving in the system. So 7, I think.
Yeah, I think we've got a real mix with Kone. I think he's the type of player where the tempo of the game dictates the tempo that he plays at, if that makes sense. When he came on yesterday, it was like he kind of was cruising, but then he has a moment where it was end to end and he's really involved in the game. And then it will dip down and he'll kind of drift out the game. I think he just needs to impose himself a little bit more. I think we know he's got the ability. He just probably doesn't show it enough. So, yeah, I think, what did you go for, Sam?
7, I said.
7. We've had a 6, 7. Yeah, we'll go with 7. Other 2, we'll fire through. Chat for Detsy. Little bit quieter, show some bright sparks. His versatility, Charlie, is obviously a positive. The fact he can just play on that left.
Yeah, a lot quieter than QPR, wasn't he? Didn't have that kind of wow factor. I don't know if we could have tried to get the ball out to him a bit more, but one thing I was saying in the pub afterwards is he a bit too predictable when he's playing out on that left and you get it, he's just trying to cut in on the right. But
yeah,
early days, I didn't think he had much game time. I'd love to see more of him. I think we've got like a really cool player there who I want to go to a football game to watch. So I'll probably give him a 6, but excited to see more.
I think centre mid is his position for sure. He's a good option to have, as you mentioned, on that left. Jake Livermore came on to Jake. We'll give him a 6.5. I think it's probably fair. Came on, did what he had to do. He loves a professional foul. There was one at Stevenage, I don't know if you guys remember it, where at the corner and he just went, you know what, screw this. Bang. He loves it. I think he picked up a yellow, did he not? He might have.
Stevenage, you did, didn't he?
Yeah, oh mate, you must have for that tackle. That was straight off the Watford Friendly League. But yeah, I think that's where we're gonna wrap up. Any final thoughts, lads? Just looking into Stoke next week. I'm gonna be there. Sam, are you there?
I will be there.
You got the prediction league that I have not forgot. Stoke away. Sam, where's the best place to go for a pint at Stoke?
I just remember last year it was like, I think it was at the front of Power League. It was at the bar Power League. It's like a roundabout next to the ground, and it's a nice quick 5-a-side game before we head to the Bet365 Stadium, whatever it's called now. So it should be a good one.
Love it. As pints go, we were just saying yesterday, a post Power League pint is right up there. Charlie, you at Stoke?
Yes. Short trip for me, back up north. So going with the Northwest Hornets representing. Hopefully we can have an away day like last season at Stoke.
Good man. Make sure you do check out Sam's matchday TikTok from yesterday. That is on our TikTok, obviously, which has got a lot of support recently. So we really do appreciate it. Before we finish, we have the prediction league. Now, bringing it up here. Currently in the lead is Sam with 2 points. I don't think we actually decided on the forfeit in the end, lads.
Elton John fancy dress.
Wow, Charlie's quite keen for it. I think Charlie actually wants to dress as Elton John.
I was thinking the full kit on the last day of the season, including shin pads and football boots.
I'd rather do Elton John.
I'd be keen to do Elton John, I have to say. I'd be keen. I might deliberately lose it so I can be Elton John for the day.
We'll let the people vote.
So, just going to fill out the prediction league here. Let us know in the comment section your those graphics straight from the Excel textbook. But looking at the prediction league, we're going to throw it over to Sam and Charlie and myself. But let us know in the comment section. Sam, Stoke away prediction, please.
2-0 defeat.
Oh, wow. Oh, wrong way around. 2-0 loss. Charlie Zazzera.
Oh, I'm not confident. I'm not
Last
confident.
year in the noise.
I will go with a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. Well, I've got, as you can see, I've got for 3 wins so far. I'm gonna go for a 3-1 win.
Go on, Culshaw.
Optimistic.
You know what? I might actually go the whole season, so we're going to win every game and see what points I come out with. 3-1 Watford. Yeah, Val Ball in full flow. But yeah, let us know your score prediction in the comment section below. Current table, as you can see on the right-hand side, Sam in the lead with a massive 2 points after 3 games. Charlie and myself lagging behind with 1 point. But that is where we're going to wrap it up. Thanks so much to everyone for joining us today. Really do appreciate it. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Follow the guys on Twitter. As you can see, our ats are just below us. So check us out on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. And our channel at WD18 Fans. We'll see you in the next one. Stoke away. Another point on the board. Another clean sheet. Happy days. Up the Val Ball. Take care. You would.